Many of us talk about animal conservation. Some of us donate money to support sponsorship schemes, and a few of us will volunteer our time and services once in a while. But there are one or two people who go that extra mile.
Indeed, and last night at a ceremony in London, the Duke of Cambridge honoured those individuals at the Tusk Conservation Awards. We've asked Sabri Bhatti to bring us the details.
The world's endangered wildlife is for sale on the internet. That's according to a study released this week, which says you can buy anything from live tigers to bears, orangutans to chimpanzees. Emerald boas, hummingbirds and even the poisonous dart frog are all available just a few clicks away. The trade of animal products like ivory, bearskin and horn are just as strong. It's why organisations like Tusk are active in helping to protect endangered animals across 17 African countries. The small but dynamic organisation has over 20 years of experience in funding conservation and community development programmes across the continent. Since it was created in 1990, Tusk has raised over £25 million, which have gone towards animal conservation. It's no wonder then that Prince William makes it part of his events calendar to attend the Tusk Conservation Awards. Last night at the Claridge's Hotel in London, he honoured those working in the industry. As royal patron of Tusk, the Duke of Cambridge presented awards to two leading conservationists for their outstanding work in Africa. The Tusk Award for Emerging Leaders in Conservation was given to Harizo Andrian Andra Sana from Madagascar. And the Prince William Award for Conservation in Africa was awarded to Richard Bonham in recognition of his lifetime contribution to wildlife and the Maasai community in Kenya. Experts say the world's wild creatures are in crisis. In the last 4 decades, we've lost over half of our vertebrate wildlife. And warnings are rife that no place on Earth is spared this danger. Here in the UK, for example, over half of 3,000 species studied have shown declining population.
As I always say, we cannot and must not ever be tempted to distinguish between the state of Africa's wildlife and the prosperity of its people. The two issues are interlinked. This year's Tusk Conservation Awards are, for me, an opportunity to recognise and to highlight some of the remarkable and courageous conservation work being undertaken across Africa. Thank you.
Prince William took the opportunity last night to announce a new award for next year, which hopes to recognise the extraordinary bravery and commitment of wildlife rangers.
Our second guest of the night has for the past number of years been working tirelessly in protecting big cats in the Ruaha area of Africa.
After realising that lions were being killed at a rate unmatched anywhere else in Africa, she has made it her duty to do something about it. And Amy Dickman joins us now. Good evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, the fascination is about big cats. What is it about big cats that fascinates you?
I've always been fascinated by them from as long as I can remember. And I think, having recently had a child myself, the thought that she might grow up in a world where she doesn't have the chance to experience those animals out in the wild is very sad, and something I think it's very important for our generation to act on and try to make sure that they're secure in the long term.
That's right. And as a youngster, you yourself had some work experience in zoos.
Yeah.
That must have been quite important in instilling those values in you, right?
Definitely. I always wanted to go to the zoo. Any opportunity to interact with big cats, just to see wildlife, was incredible. But I only got to go to Africa when I was 21, and that was just incredible to actually see them out in the wild.
Absolutely. That absolutely, it's quite shocking to hear that. We're saying that the way the lions are being wiped out here is unmatched, unprecedented. But then I think of lions, and it's probably everyone's favourite animal. I think of the Lion King, and think what my kids want to see. They want to see lions. Why are people targeting lions, and where's all this coming from?
Lions are an incredibly hard species to live alongside for local communities who don't have the ability to actually protect their livestock, protect themselves from living with these very dangerous animals. If any one of us had them in our backyard, we'd be a lot less keen probably to have them around than from the safety potentially of a safari vehicle. But I think you're totally right in that people seem to think that lions are secure because we always see them on television, but they're really not. They've halved in 20 years. As we said, the killing is very high. So it's absolutely important, given the importance of community land for lions, to work with those communities to conserve them and ensure they are there in generations to come.
Great.
Now, Dan, obviously, it must be great for you to see someone like Amy here doing the work that she does, and obviously with the awards that we had yesterday. How important important is it to have people like Amy, and more importantly, getting her here so she can tell us about the work that she does and the work that's going on, well, not just in Africa. I think we'll talk about India as well during the break as well.
Yes, no, absolutely. I mean, this is what the Tusk Awards has been all about, is to celebrate the work that is going on. I think all too often we hear some of the depressing stories about the plight of wildlife in Africa especially. And so it's really important to actually celebrate that out there some really good work is being done, that, in certain pockets of Africa, people like Amy are turning the tide and, are having triumphs. And so, yeah, it's important that we celebrate them and shine a spotlight on this work.
Amy, you've worked with lions, we're talking about lions, but you've also worked with other big cats like cheetahs, and you've come quite close to them.
Yeah.
They're quite majestic, aren't they, cheetahs?
They're amazing animals. All the big cats, I'm totally fascinated by them. But yes, I was privileged enough to work at the Cheetah Conservation Fund, so I worked in close quarters with the cheetahs there. And with lions more recently. In fact, I had a lion sleep on my tent in my very first night in Tanzania, which was a little bit too close for comfort.
So quick, what do you find more scarier, the elephant or the lion? If you were out in that tent by yourself.
In a tent, I would find a lion more scary because elephants are very respectful around tents.
But in your time working with them, have you found ways to interact with them? And I wouldn't say tame them, but...
Well, with the cheetahs are easiest to end up being habituated to people, and that has happened, obviously, for centuries. Lions, I wouldn't really take that chance. So having it sleep on the tent was actually the closest I'd certainly want to come to a wild lion.
No, I must imagine it must be very important for you to work with the local people. Obviously, we come from here, work out there. How do you interact with them? And also imagine for the local people, that may be a form of trade for them, perhaps. How do you educate them? How do you interact with them? And how do you work with them?
Well, I think you have to look at the fact that we need to make the benefits of having those species around outweigh any remaining costs. So what we do is try to reduce the costs they impose on people, reducing attacks on livestock and on people. But more importantly than that, really, is trying to ensure that the very presence of those species actually has a genuine, tangible and, wanted benefit for those communities. And that will make them want them to have them there in the long term. So we asked the people what they wanted. It has to come from them, as you say. It can't be imposed from me coming in. Yeah. And they wanted all the normal things that anyone would want: better education, better healthcare, access to veterinary medicines. So it's a long-term process of engaging with those communities and trying to find a common ground where we can say, by the presence of these species, it can actually empower the communities as well, rather than be a drain on them.
And how do you find obviously you made a point earlier about if we had a lion living in our back garden. How do you find people over there find that? Because obviously they've got all this wildlife right there on their doorstep. How do you find they live side by side?
Well, it's interesting. People seem to think that because people have lived there for millennia with this wildlife, that there is a natural coexistence. And often it's just because people haven't had the opportunity to get rid of them. So we find that with access to poisons and snares and things, people don't want them there if they're not a benefit to them. So part of it's education, part of it's reducing the costs and providing those benefits. But we find that if we take people into the national parks, they've actually never had the opportunity to see these wildlife in anything other than a negative way. So from them seeing lions with their cubs, them seeing Westerners flying in, that's an amazing attitude shift to see that these animals can have value and can have a different aspect to them.
And of course, this place called Ruaha.
Yeah.
That's the one. Tell us, where is this place?
Ruaha is in southern Tanzania. It's a really little-known area, despite the fact it's actually centred around Ruaha National Park, which is the biggest park in East Africa. It has over 1/10 of all the lions left in the world. So it's fantastically important for these species, but very few people have ever heard of it.
Must go there. Ruaha.
And lots of good work being done and from these communities that you work with. Many of them sharing gifts with you because of this amazing work that you're doing. And we've got a few items here now. We'll get the spear out. I think this is the one everyone's looking forward to.
This is the one that I really want. If I can.
We'll ask our cameraman to bring that over. Thank you very much.
I promise this is we're not going to do anything with this, but we do have a spear. Tell us about this.
So this is a spear from the Barabaig tribe. This is a pastoralist tribe like the Maasai. This is a spear that's actually made all from local parts, usually from car parts that they've taken from springs, recycled car parts, which may be why none of our cars ever work. But yeah, traditionally, to kill a lion is an important rite of manhood and to get bravery in those communities. And we've been trying to change those behaviours so that men can get status through conservation-related activities rather than killing lions. And we've had great success in actually sort of bonding now with the communities. It took a long time, and we were given this spear as a recognition from some of the local warriors, so it was great.
I was going to say, maybe it's a good thing, but it doesn't feel that sharp.
And that's because it's been used to kill multiple lions.
Oh, okay, no wonder.
No, it is quite, well, it's more about, if you see how far they can throw it and how accurately, it's very powerful. So they're really amazing with those spears.
An Olympic game.
Olympic,
with this.
Yeah,
absolutely.
but happily they're being used a lot less often now.
Yeah.
No, and of course we've got more
women
items
getting involved with beading.
The women are absolutely critical in those communities. It can't just be about the men, and the women have a lot of power behind the scenes often.
Yeah.
So the women need to see benefits to their households from local people, from tourists coming in to see the lions and other wildlife. So one of the things they do is use their crafts, beading, selling these to people, and just getting, even though relatively small, very important revenue to their households that again offset any remaining costs from.
So this is like a little basket, a trinket that you could
a little trinket basket. They do necklaces, they do all kinds of amazing things from the beads and local materials.
Well, it's very intricate in its design, really, isn't it? I'm just looking at this basket and also the kind of things that we've got on a table here. But it's so much intricate detail, and obviously all handmade as well. Yeah, absolutely.
So many colours involved.
Yeah.
And I know that we've also got kind of bracelets and bangles and. Is that, it's not a band. I saw one which said Tanzania on it.
Exactly, So all of these they will just have available on the road that goes into the national park. Often a lot of the benefits stay potentially with lodges and don't necessarily dissipate down to the local communities. So a lot of what we're trying to do is get those benefits out to the households that are affected by lion presence.
And it's not just a regular tourist shop, because the proceeds go into your projects and helping.
Well, it's a relationship. We're trying to facilitate this, getting out there to people coming in, and then those people see a benefit not only to the project, but because we are there with the lions. And we see that killing in that area has gone down now of over 80% of lion killing through protecting livestock, stopping attacks, providing education and providing benefits, so it's great.
And of course, that's not all. I mean, for some reason, you get all the delicate items, I get all the violent ones. This looks like it can cause
pipe. It looks like a big smoking pipe.
It looks like it can cause a lot of damage. If you look at that head on this, what is this? What do I do with it?
This is a fighting stick. It's made from a hardwood, and as you say, it can cause a lot of damage. So they use these in fights. You can either throw it or hit someone very hard on the head, and they can kill people with these.
Don't try it on me.
I know. I'm just thinking, how could this come in handy? I'm well armed today. I've got a spear, and I've got what's the name for this?
It's a fighting stick.
Just a fight. It's a fighting stick and a spear. Well, so then how important is it for Amy to interact with local people and obviously learn more about their culture and so on and so forth?
Yeah, I think it's fundamental. Historically, conservation was a lot about sort of keeping people out of wilderness areas, and actually an awful lot of errors were made as a result of that, alienating the local communities, where actually, if you want to have long-term success, it's all about engaging them, showing the local communities that there is value in having their wildlife alongside them, and empowering them, helping them to protect their own wildlife.
Brilliant. Amy, if anyone wants to get involved with the Ruaha Carnivore Project, how would they do that? How can they support you?
Yeah, we have a website called ruahacarnivoreproject.com, imaginatively, and they can definitely get involved through that. We are very keen. The Tusk Awards have been amazing in shining a spotlight on these very small projects that never get that kind of exposure. So it's thrilling to be here and hopefully get the word out and get more support.